Stop scrolling right now, because what Blueface just did at 3 in the morning inside a rental house in San Diego is going to make your stomach drop. And Chrisean Rock just got caught red-handed pulling the single most calculated, ice-cold, sociopathic move I have ever seen a woman pull on a live stream. And I promise you, by the time we finish walking through this footage together, you are going to be furious, you are going to be stunned, and you are going to understand exactly why this entire situation is spiraling into something that no child, no pregnant woman, and no human being with a functioning conscience should ever have to witness. Welcome in, welcome back. And if this is the first time you are landing on my page, then let me lay out the ground rules quickly, because I do not play defense for any of these people. I do not run cover for any of these people. And if the person you love, stan, or ride for happens to be inside the story we are about to break down, then you are absolutely free to click off, walk away, and go find comfort somewhere gentler, because I am not going to soften a single syllable of what I am about to say. Everybody else, buckle in, because this is one of those rare weekends where the mask slipped all the way off, and I refuse to let a single frame of it go unexamined. Here is where we stand today. Blueface, the man who could not be bothered to show his face at his own daughter Journey's birthday party. The man whose pregnant partner Jaidyn is at home right this second building a crib alone, snapping together a car seat alone, folding tiny newborn onesies alone with a due date that could hit any hour of any day, decided that the correct use of his weekend was to fly to San Diego to reunite with Chrisean Rock and drag their almost 3-year-old son Junior along for the ride. Journey did not get her father at her party. Jaidyn does not have her partner at her side. Junior is being carted through a house full of strangers at 3 in the morning. And Chrisean is acting like she just won the lottery. Now watch what happens next, because the footage you are about to see is not entertainment. It is evidence, and every second of it deserves to be examined slowly, forensically, and without the filter that Blueface fans and Chrisean stans keep slapping on top of it. The clip opens with Chrisean waking up in a bed that is not hers, in a house that is not hers, at an hour that no mother of a toddler should be awake, and she is completely lost. She does not know what day it is, what time it is, or where she is. And Blueface, who has apparently been streaming for hours already, is dragging her into the frame like a trophy, calling her out for pretending she has amnesia. And here is the wild part. She might actually have something close to it. Freeze that frame for a second, because if you have been following this saga for any amount of time, you will remember that Chrisean has been on record, in her own words, on her own stream, discussing her dissociative episodes and her multiple personality diagnosis. There was a moment not long ago where her own sister Charlotte turned to her on camera and told her plainly, "You are not going to remember any of this tomorrow. You are going to be a completely different person." And here we are, watching that prophecy fulfill itself in real time. Chrisean stumbled through hours of that stream as one version of herself, went to sleep, and woke up as another version of herself, with no memory, no context, and no idea that she had just spent her entire evening being paraded through a rental house full of strangers. But instead of treating this like the mental health emergency it clearly is, Blueface is filming it. He is monetizing it. He is inviting a chat of hundreds of thousands of strangers to laugh at a woman who is medically, provably, publicly unwell. And Chrisean, God bless her, cannot even locate her own phone. She is asking about it, begging for it, convinced somebody stole it, when the truth is she probably set it down somewhere hours ago as a completely different personality and has no memory of doing it. This is not a couple spat. This is not a relationship squabble. This is a woman unraveling in real time on camera for content, and the man beside her, the father of her child, is treating it like a bit. And every laugh he coaxes out of that chat, every subscribe notification that dings while Chrisean stands there confused and disoriented, is another dollar earned off her illness, which is a business model so grotesque, I do not have vocabulary for it. And I have been doing this for years. Now hold on, because we have to talk about how Chrisean is handling Junior in this footage, and I want you to look at this carefully. Junior is about to turn 3 years old in a matter of weeks. 3. Not 3 months. Not 6 months. 3 years. And yet the way Chrisean is picking him up, tossing him, adjusting him, propping him against her hip, it looks exactly like the way a mother handles a 5 or 6-month-old infant. There is no muscle tone reaction from Junior. There is no verbal response. He is not saying a word. He is not making eye contact. He is not reaching. He is not resisting. He is limp in her arms the way a much younger baby would be, and every pediatrician, every early childhood specialist, every parent of a neurotypical toddler watching this footage is going to see exactly what I am seeing, which is a special needs child whose developmental trajectory is not being honored, not being supported, and not being protected by the two adults who created him. And here is where it gets darker. Because it is 3 in the morning. It is 3 in the morning in a rental house that is packed with adults Chrisean and Blueface do not really know. Women who are downstairs for reasons nobody is explaining. Energy that is anything but child-safe. And upstairs, drifting in and out of the frame, is a nearly 3-year-old disabled child watching his mother scream at his father about whether or not she got left behind at a nightclub. Nobody could invent this. Nobody could write this. If you handed this scenario to a screenwriter as a pitch, the network would reject it as too bleak. But this is the reality that Junior is living inside, and it is happening on a live stream that anybody with an internet connection can tune into. And the internet, God help us, keeps tuning in, keeps clicking, keeps chatting, keeps subscribing, keeps rewarding the exact same behavior we would collectively condemn if it happened 5 houses down our own block. Now watch how Chrisean escalates. Blueface tells her, in plain words, that he tried to wake her up. He says he carried her to the shower. He says he attempted to get her out of bed and could not. And Chrisean, who genuinely does not remember any of it, refuses to believe him. She calls him weird, strange, every version of the word she can find, and she does it while she is standing in the same clothes she wore all day before, unwashed, unchanged, unbothered. Blueface says she showered. But even if that is true, Chrisean got out of that shower, opened her suitcase, and put the same funky, worn, day-old outfit right back onto her body. And you want to know why? Because when she packed her bag to fly to San Diego, she packed makeup, she packed hair supplies, she packed everything a woman brings when she wants to look good for a man, but she did not pack a single change of clothes. She flew across state lines to be with Blueface and did not think she would need a second outfit. Reckless, careless, and shameless does not even begin to cover it. And that is only the appetizer, because the main course of this footage is Chrisean trying to control Blueface's stream in the exact same way she has tried to control every other person's stream she has ever been on. Every single time Chrisean appears on somebody else's platform, within minutes she is trying to grab the phone, redirect the camera, mute the chat, silence the room, and dominate the frame. And every single time, without exception, it is because she cannot regulate herself in a public setting. If you knew how to conduct yourself with a shred of dignity, Chrisean, you would not have to shut down the cameras. If you knew how to keep your composure, Chrisean, you would not have to snatch phones out of other people's hands. But you cannot, and so every stream becomes a battlefield, and every stream ends with somebody getting their equipment thrown across a room, and every single time we tell ourselves it will be the last time, and every single time we are wrong. Which brings us to the phone-throwing moment, because yes, on top of everything else, Chrisean took a phone and threw it. And she did it with the same casual violence she brings to every physical interaction in her life, and Blueface, to his credit or to his damnation, depending on how you want to read it, did not even flinch. He is so used to this behavior at this point that he processed the airborne phone the way most people process a passing breeze. That is not love. That is not a relationship. That is trauma bonding wearing a wig and calling itself romance. And what nobody in that room seems to understand, or maybe they understand it and just do not care, is that a toddler learns his entire understanding of adulthood from what he sees his parents doing when they think he is not watching. And Junior is always watching, because Junior has nowhere else to be. But we are not done. We are not close to done. Because the moment that made me actually gasp, the moment that made me hit rewind 3 separate times to make sure my eyes were working correctly, is the moment I am about to walk you through, and I want you to buckle in for it. Blueface, at some point during this stream, sits in a vehicle with his head tilted back and his eyes closed. He is exhausted. He is drained. He has been up all night. And Chrisean sees this pose. And Chrisean recognizes this pose. And Chrisean, in what I can only describe as one of the most cold-blooded, calculated, cinematic acts of manipulation I have ever seen a woman perform in real time, arranges herself in the frame beside him in a way that mimics, almost perfectly, a widow cradling a body. His eyes closed, his head back, her arms around him, her face composed. And she holds that pose long enough for the camera to catch it, long enough for the screenshot to exist, long enough for the internet to spread it. Nobody could script this. Nobody could stage this. Except she did stage it, and she staged it flawlessly. Chrisean, if you are watching this video, and let us be honest, we both know you are watching this video, I saw exactly what you did there, and every single person who has been following your saga saw exactly what you did there. You wanted that image. You wanted that funeral tableau. You wanted the internet to have that photograph of you cradling a Blueface who looked like he had already crossed over into the next life. Because you know as well as anybody that image, once it exists, cannot be unseen. You go far to go far. You have always gone far to go far. And this is the furthest you have gone yet. That photograph is going to be used against you in every future custody hearing, every future public relations pivot, every future attempt you make to rewrite this chapter of your life. And you did it to yourself. Nobody staged that pose for you. Nobody handed you that composition. You saw the shot, you framed the shot, and you took the shot, and now you are going to live with that shot for the rest of your natural life. Freeze that frame, because I need you to understand something about the machinery of what just happened. Chrisean has been telegraphing this energy for months. She has been positioning herself as the tragic figure, the loyal woman, the ride or die who will still be standing when everyone else has abandoned Blueface. And that funeral photograph is not an accident. That funeral photograph is a statement. That funeral photograph is Chrisean saying to Jaidyn, to Journey, to everyone in Blueface orbit, I will be the one holding him when it ends, no matter what it is that ends, and no matter when it ends. It is theater. It is calculated. It is chilling. And it is exactly the kind of performance that has kept Chrisean at the center of this saga for years, because whatever else you want to say about her, she understands imagery, she understands narrative, and she understands how to plant a photograph in the collective memory of the internet. Now watch what happens next, because after the funeral tableau, after the phone throwing, after the screaming match, after the shower argument, after the nearly 3-year-old was carted through a house of strangers at 3 in the morning, Chrisean pulls out her phone and starts playing gospel music. Gospel music. In the car. At sunrise. After a night of profanity, chaos, and public meltdown, Chrisean is going to sit in the passenger seat and hum along to a worship track like she just came home from a Sunday service. And she is going to do it with a straight face. She is going to do it while wearing the same clothes she has been sweating in for 24 hours. She is going to do it while a special needs child sits in the back seat gnawing on his own arm from hunger. And she is going to do it as if none of us have functioning eyes and ears. This is the level of dissonance we are dealing with. This is the level of self-delusion we are dealing with. This is the level of image crafting we are dealing with. Gospel music does not wash off the previous 8 hours. Gospel music does not sanctify a rental house full of strangers at 3 in the morning. Gospel music does not undo a funeral photograph. And speaking of Junior gnawing on his own arm, because I refuse to skate past that detail, let us take a slow, sober look at what this child is being fed. Almost 3 years old. A boy who should be sitting at a table eating scrambled eggs, cut grapes, cheese cubes, avocado toast, chicken nuggets, whatever the standard diet of a curious toddler happens to be. And what does Junior consume in these clips? Nesquik, puree pouches, Pediasure, baby food. That is it. That is the menu. That is the intake. That is the nutrition being provided to a growing child by 2 adults with enough money to hire chefs, dietitians, and pediatric nutritionists 10 times over. And instead they are feeding him bottles and pouches and calling it a day. And when the food finally does arrive at whatever drive-through window they eventually pull up to, watch how Blueface handles the handoff. Watch the way he tosses Junior between his arms. Watch the way this fragile, developmentally delayed, special needs child gets moved around like a duffel bag. It is not malicious. That is what makes it worse. It is casual. It is habitual. It is the way these 2 adults have always handled this child, and nobody around them has ever corrected it, because nobody around them has the standing, the courage, or the interest to correct it. All right, we are rolling on, because I promised you a full autopsy of this stream, and I do not walk away from a job halfway done. Let us talk about the argument in the car, the one where Chrisean pivots from screaming at Blueface for going to a nightclub without her to cuddling him like they are on their honeymoon within the same 5 minutes. This is not stability. This is not health. This is not romance. This is the exact same emotional whiplash pattern Chrisean has demonstrated on every partner, every friend, every family member she has ever been recorded interacting with. She flips fast, and she flips hard. And Blueface, who has become an expert at surfing her mood swings, just rides the wave. He does not react to the yelling, the cuddling, the accusations, the affection, the tantrums, or the tenderness. He processes all of it as the same background weather. That is not a partnership. That is not a relationship. That is two people orbiting the same trauma and calling it love. And I want to say something else, because I think it needs to be said clearly, and I do not think anybody else is going to say it in these exact words. Blueface does not love Chrisean. Blueface does not love Jaidyn. Blueface does not love Journey. Blueface does not love Junior. Blueface does not love his mother, his siblings, his fans, his manager, or his God. Blueface does not even love Blueface. And that last part is the part everyone keeps missing. Because if Blueface loved Blueface, he would not be sabotaging his own career on a nightly basis for the sake of a live stream. He would not be traumatizing his own children on camera. He would not be cheating on his pregnant partner while she is finalizing baby room furniture. Everything Blueface does is a form of self-harm dressed up as a lifestyle. And the reason Chrisean keeps coming back is because she recognizes that self-harm energy, and she matches it perfectly. And they cannot exist without each other because they are the only two people on planet Earth who can absorb each other's chaos without flinching. Now watch what happens next, because after the car ride, after the gospel music, after the drive-thru, Chrisean pivots straight into her subscriber monetization strategy. Because everything with Chrisean, ultimately, is about the money. She turns to the chat. She thanks people for subscribing. She hypes up the ones who paid the $6.99 to unlock priority commenting. She scolds the ones who are commenting for free. And she does all of this while a nearly 3-year-old child sits inches away from her, watching his mother monetize their family dysfunction in real time. Junior is being raised inside a cash register. Junior is being raised inside an audience metrics dashboard. Junior does not have a childhood. Junior has a content calendar. And if you are one of the people paying $6.99 a month to comment on that stream, I want you to sit with that for a second and ask yourself what you are financing, because you are not financing entertainment. You are financing a slow-motion emergency. Hold on, rewind that, because there is one more detail I do not want you to miss, and it is subtle, but it is important. During one of the calmer moments in the car, Blueface leans in and starts whispering to Chrisean the exact same way he was leaning in and whispering to another woman just days earlier. Same posture, same intimacy, same cadence. And the other woman, who had been sitting on Blueface's lap earlier in the week, jumped out of that lap almost immediately once she registered what she was in the middle of. Chrisean, on the other hand, does not jump out. Chrisean settles in. Chrisean receives the whisper, absorbs the whisper, and returns it. Because that is Chrisean's role in this saga. She is not the woman Blueface picks. She is the woman Blueface returns to. And there is a difference between those two things that Chrisean will spend the rest of her life refusing to acknowledge. Nobody could script this. Nobody could invent this. But we are watching it, second by second, frame by frame, and we are being invited to react to it as if it is normal. And that is the piece that keeps me up at night. Not the phone throwing. Not the yelling. Not even the funeral photograph. What keeps me up at night is how desensitized we have all become to a live stream disaster unfolding in front of a nearly 3-year-old disabled child at 3 in the morning inside a rental house in San Diego. If any one of us saw this happening at the neighbor's house across the street, we would call somebody. We would call Child Protective Services. We would call the police. We would call a family member. We would call somebody. But because it is happening on the internet, because it is happening to a rapper and a reality TV personality, because it is happening with a chat scrolling on the side of the screen, we treat it like a soap opera instead of the crisis it actually is. And meanwhile, back at home, Jaidyn is finishing the crib. Jaidyn is finishing the car seat. Jaidyn is finishing the baby book. Jaidyn is preparing to bring a child into a world where his father is on the other side of the state, cradling another woman for a funeral photograph, while their almost 3-year-old brother chews on his own arm in a drive-through line. That is the split screen. That is the reality. That is the picture nobody in Blueface camp wants you to sit with. But I am going to sit here with you and force you to sit with it too. Because Jaidyn deserves better, and Journey deserves better, and Junior deserves better, and the baby about to arrive deserves better, and none of them are going to get better as long as Blueface keeps choosing chaos and Chrisean keeps choosing him. Now watch this, because Chrisean is not done. She turns to Blueface in the car and starts telling him he does not love Jaidyn. She says it flatly. She says it casually. She says it like she is stating a fact instead of stirring a pot. And here is the darkly hilarious part. She is not wrong. Blueface does not love Jaidyn. Blueface does not love anybody. But Chrisean is not saying it because it is true. Chrisean is saying it because it is useful. Chrisean is saying it because every syllable that positions Jaidyn as unloved is a syllable that positions Chrisean as chosen. And Chrisean, more than anything else in this world, more than money, more than fame, more than her own child, wants to be chosen. She wants to be the one. She wants to be the winner in a competition Jaidyn does not even know she is enrolled in. And that hunger, that gnawing, unmet, obsessive hunger to be chosen, is what has kept Chrisean in Blueface orbit through every arrest, every altercation, every humiliation, every broken bone, every restraining order, every single publicly documented disaster of their shared history. Freeze that frame, because I want you to understand the physics of what you are watching. Chrisean is not in love with Blueface. Chrisean is in love with winning Blueface. Those are two different addictions. One of them ends when the relationship stabilizes. The other one never ends, because the goalpost keeps moving, because Blueface will never fully commit, because Chrisean will never fully arrive, and because as long as Jaidyn exists, as long as Journey exists, as long as any other woman exists in Blueface rotation, Chrisean has a target to chase. Take away Jaidyn and Chrisean loses her plot. Take away the competition and Chrisean loses her identity. She does not want the peace. She wants the pursuit. And she will torch every stable thing in her life, including her own son, to keep that pursuit alive. Loud, loose, and lawless is the phrase that keeps coming to mind, because that is exactly what this footage documents. A loud woman, a loose situation, and a lawless disregard for the well-being of everybody caught in the crossfire. And I say lawless not in the criminal sense, though there are absolutely arguments to be made there, but in the moral sense. There are no rules being followed here. There is no standard being upheld here. There is no adult in the room here. There are only two people ricocheting off of each other's worst impulses while a child watches and a chat cheers. All right, we are rolling on, because the outro of the stream is somehow even more surreal than the body of it. After all the yelling, after all the funeral photography, after all the gospel music, Chrisean gets Junior dressed and Blueface holds him, and they take a couple of family portrait-shaped moments together for the camera. And Junior sits there in his father's arms the way he has sat in strangers' arms his whole short life, which is to say, quietly, distantly, and without the reciprocal warmth that most toddlers would offer their dads. Blueface leans in. Junior does not lean back. Blueface kisses him. Junior does not respond. And Chrisean narrates the whole thing as if it is a Hallmark movie, as if this is the moment the audience has been waiting for, as if this scene is the redemption arc of a saga that has no redemption arc available to it. And that, my friends, is the tragedy of Junior. He has been passed between two adults who cannot regulate themselves for his entire life. He has been live-streamed for his entire life. He has been used as a prop for his entire life. He has been underfed, understimulated, and underprotected for his entire life. And the internet has watched all of it. The internet has documented all of it. The internet has receipts on every single second of it. And somehow, despite all of that documentation, no meaningful intervention has ever occurred. No meaningful accountability has ever landed. No meaningful protection has ever been extended to this child. And that is the collective indictment we all have to sit with. Because if a child this visible cannot be helped, what does that say about the invisible ones? Are you catching this? Are you tracking what we are actually watching? Because this is not gossip. This is not a soap opera. This is not two celebrities being messy for content. This is a family in freefall, a child in the crosshairs, a pregnant woman being betrayed on a national scale, a daughter being abandoned on her birthday, and a livestream ecosystem monetizing every second of it. And the fact that we have all been trained to consume this as entertainment says more about the ecosystem than it does about the family. Let me hit pause here for a second longer, because I need to walk you through one more layer of this whole thing that I do not think enough people are talking about. The rental house itself. That location. Think about what a rental house at 3 in the morning actually is. It is a temporary space, occupied by temporary bodies, filled with temporary energy, and yet the child at the center of this footage is being raised inside a rotating carousel of exactly these kinds of spaces. Junior does not have a bedroom. Junior does not have a routine. Junior does not have a set of walls that stay the same from one week to the next. Junior has hotel rooms, rental houses, tour buses, studio green rooms, and the back seats of vehicles. Developmental psychologists have written entire libraries on what unstable environments do to a child under the age of 5. The research is unambiguous. Chronic environmental instability at that age wires anxiety directly into the nervous system, disrupts sleep architecture permanently, delays language acquisition, and correlates with lifelong difficulties in emotional regulation. And Junior is getting all of that, in maximum dose, on camera, for content, for money. Now watch what happens next, because after Blueface finishes the family portrait routine with Junior, Chrisean makes a comment about which side of her face is her good side, and Blueface pushes back at her, and the two of them fall into this weirdly domestic, weirdly playful little exchange about camera angles that would almost read as sweet if you did not know what preceded it and what followed it. And this is the trap of this footage, and this is the trap of this entire relationship. Because if you edited the tape down to just the tender moments, you could sell this couple as a romantic comedy. And if you edited the tape down to just the violent moments, you could sell them as a public safety announcement. The truth is that both tapes exist inside the same 24-hour window, and both tapes were shot from the same phone, and both tapes are equally true, and that is why this saga is so dangerous, because it teaches every young person watching it that this level of oscillation between tenderness and terror is what love is supposed to look like, and it is not. Freeze that frame, because I want to name something else that everybody seems to be dancing around. Blueface has been publicly, repeatedly, unambiguously telling his own audience that Junior is not his biological child. He has said it on stream. He has said it in interviews. He has said it in freestyles. He has said it to Chrisean's face. He has said it to Chrisean's family. And then he shows up on a weekend like this one, and he holds this child, and he dresses this child, and he kisses this child, and he does the exact opposite of the disavowal he spends his weekdays broadcasting. Which version is real? Both are real. That is the horror of it. Blueface is a man who genuinely does not know from 1 hour to the next which version of his life he is committed to. And Junior is the small human being paying the developmental tax on that indecision every single day, whether the cameras are rolling or not. None of this adds up. None of this holds together. None of this can be reconciled with any framework of adulthood, partnership, parenting, or basic human decency. And yet, when Blueface returns home to Los Angeles in a few hours, when he sits down in front of his own webcam, when he opens his own stream, he is going to look into the camera and swear on everything he loves that Junior is not his son, that Chrisean is not his girlfriend, that this weekend never happened, that every clip you and I just walked through is a manipulation. He is going to gaslight his own audience with the same confidence he brings to every other lie, and half of his audience is going to nod along and believe him. Because that is the deal Blueface has cut with his fanbase. He lies. They accept. He denies. They defend. And Chrisean pays the price for it every single time. And Junior pays the price for it every single time. And Jaidyn pays the price for it every single time. But we are not going to nod along. We are not going to accept. We are not going to defend. We are going to name what we are watching, and we are going to name it clearly. We are watching a slow-motion child welfare emergency. We are watching a woman with a diagnosed mental illness being exploited for content by the man she is obsessed with. We are watching a pregnant woman being abandoned in her final trimester by the father of her unborn child. We are watching a family disintegrate on a live stream with a monetization panel on the side. And every one of us who tunes in is a witness, and every witness has an obligation, and the obligation is at least to say, out loud, that this is not okay, that this is not normal, that this is not acceptable, and that if there is a single adult with legal standing to intervene on behalf of Junior, they need to intervene, and they need to intervene now. Chrisean, if you are watching, and I know you are watching, you have a chance. You have a real chance. You have a legitimate, God-given, therapist-supported, family-endorsed chance to walk away from Blueface. Focus on your son, stabilize your diagnosis, and rebuild a version of your life that does not require a chat of strangers to validate. But you are not going to take that chance, because that chance requires you to give up the pursuit, and the pursuit is the only thing you have ever really loved. And Blueface, if you are watching, and I know you are watching too, you have a chance. You have a real chance. You have a legitimate chance to grow up, show up, and be the father your 2, soon to be 3, children need you to be. But you are not going to take that chance either, because that chance requires you to give up the chaos, and the chaos is the only thing that has ever made you feel powerful. And Jaidyn, if you are watching, and I hope for your sake you are not, please put down the phone. Please finish that nursery. Please welcome that baby into a world where you are the calm, steady, present parent that both of your children are going to need. And please, please, remember that the man on the other end of that live stream is not coming home to help you. And the sooner you plan around that reality, the safer your children will be. And to everybody else, to the audience, to the chat, to the people paying $6.99 a month to comment in real time, to the algorithm that keeps pushing this saga into millions of feeds every week, we are all part of this now. We are all in the room. We are all in the rental house at 3 in the morning. We are all watching Junior chew on his arm in a drive-through line. We are all standing over Blueface as Chrisean poses him for the funeral photograph. And the question is not whether we are entertained. The question is what we are going to do with what we have seen. Because seeing without acting is complicity, and complicity has a cost, and the cost of this particular complicity is being paid, in full, by a nearly 3-year-old boy who did not choose any of this and cannot advocate for himself. Weekend Chrisean is back. Weekend Blueface is back. Monday morning is coming, and Monday morning Blueface will deny every second of this. And Monday morning Chrisean will pretend the denial does not devastate her. And Monday morning Jaidyn will keep folding onesies. And Monday morning Journey will keep waiting for her father to remember her birthday. And Monday morning Junior will keep chewing on his own arm, because nobody is feeding him real food. That is the loop. That is the cycle. That is the schedule. Until something bigger than either of them intervenes. That is what we are all going to keep watching, week after week after week. And eventually one of these weekends is going to end in something worse than a funeral photograph. And before I let you go, I want to leave you with one final thought, because I think it might be the most important thing I say in this entire walkthrough. Every generation gets a saga that becomes the mirror it holds up to itself. Every generation gets a story that, when we look back on it in 10 or 15 years, we're going to ask ourselves how we let it go on for so long. The Blueface and Chrisean saga is that story for this generation. It is happening in our feeds, in our algorithms, in our comment sections, in our group chats. And future historians of internet culture are going to look at this footage the way we look at footage of things we now consider unthinkable. And they are going to ask why nobody hit the brakes. And the answer is going to be, because we were entertained. Because we clicked. Because we subscribed. Because we tuned in every weekend to see what Chrisean would do next, and every weekday to see what Blueface would deny next. And none of us ever paused long enough to notice that a small human being with soft blonde curls and quiet brown eyes was being crushed underneath the entire architecture of our attention. If this walkthrough opened your eyes, if this walkthrough moved you, if this walkthrough made you rethink how you have been consuming this saga up to this point, please do me one small favor. Hit that like button. Share this with somebody who needs to see it. Drop a comment and tell me exactly where you stand, because I read every single one of them, and I want to hear from you. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because we are just getting started on this story, and there are chapters coming that neither Blueface nor Chrisean want you to see. And most importantly, send this energy back to me in the comments so we can keep this conversation loud, keep this conversation honest, and keep this conversation aimed at the only outcome that actually matters, which is a safer, healthier, more protected life for Junior, for Journey, for Jaidyn, and for the baby about to arrive. I will see you on the next one. Stay sharp, stay loud, stay watching. Because when a saga this ugly is unfolding this publicly, silence is the last thing any of us can afford.